Hey everyone, I'm Kyle Yates of the FantasyPros Football Podcast. Thanks for joining us. As always, you can find our brand new content every week at youtube.com/fantasypros, as well as on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow while you're there. Let's get right to it though, because today I'm taking a look at my top 10 waiver wire ads for Week 11. Number 10, Rex Burkhead, running back, New England Patriots. Burkhead's coming off of a big performance in Week 10, and he also contributed in a big way in Week 9 against the Jets. It's hard to trust a New England Patriots running back, but if you're in need of a fill-in option for next week, Burkhead can be plugged in as a fine option that does present some upside. Number 9, Logan Thomas, tight end, Washington football team. Thomas hasn't provided huge upside recently, but he's seeing enough targets to be viewed as a reliable option week in and week out. Additionally, Thomas gets a matchup against the Bengals in Week 11, who have been torched by opposing tight ends this season. For fantasy rosters that are in need of a streaming option at tight end this week, Thomas should be the clear ad. Number 8, JAMEIS Winston, quarterback, New Orleans Saints. With Drew Brees set to miss some time with a rib contusion, Winston jumps up to a borderline must-add option. While everyone loves to harp on Winston for his propensity to turn the ball over, he's still one of the league's better passers, and we've seen how effective he can be for fantasy in the past. Not only that, but Winston gets a matchup against the Atlanta Falcons secondary in Week 11 that has been bleeding fantasy points to opposing offenses this season. Winston should be viewed as a mid-range QB1 in Week 11, and he should be a viable starter as long as Brees is sidelined. Number 7, Devontae Booker, running back, Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders love to run the ball, that's for sure. Last week against the Denver Broncos, Josh Jacobs and Booker accounted for 37 total carries, and they each averaged over 5 yards per carry and each had 2 touchdowns. While it's hard to trust Booker as anything more than an RB3 due to Jacobs being the cleared lead back here, he's put together solid back-to-back performances. If you're in need of a fill-in running back option for Week 11, Booker should be widely available. Number 6, Tony Pollard, running back, Dallas Cowboys. Coming off of their bye week, the Cowboys should have Andy Dalton back behind center. While it remains to be seen whether or not this is an improvement for this offense, there should be more of an incentive and game plan from this coaching staff to lean on the run game. While Pollard doesn't exactly present immediate fantasy appeal, he's still worth adding in the event that something were to happen to Ezekiel Elliott. Number 5, Sammy Watkins, wide receiver, Kansas City Chiefs. While Watkins comes with injury risk, there's no denying his role in this offense when he's fully healthy. Watkins should be back on the field this week, and he's worth adding due to the fact that he's attached to Patrick Mahomes. Assuming that Watkins is good to go for this matchup against the Raiders, he can be plugged into your lineup right away as a solid flex play with upside. Number 4, JALEN REAGOR, wide receiver, Philadelphia Eagles. REAGOR wasn't able to get much done in Week 10, but he led the Eagles in targets. This is good news for fantasy managers that were concerned about what his workload was going to be like with Travis Fulgham, Alshon Jeffrey, and Dallas Goedert all in the lineup together. Moving forward, REAGOR has 2 favorable matchups coming up against the Cleveland Browns and the Seattle Seahawks. REAGOR's a talented player that should be able to return solid wide receiver 3 numbers in both of those matchups. He deserves to be added everywhere. Number 3, SALVON AHMED, running back, Miami Dolphins. Ahmed was extremely high in my pre-draft running back rankings before his poor combine performance. He went undrafted, but has now found a home here in Miami. Not only did he receive a ridiculous workload in Week 10, but he looked great in the process. While Ahmed might not receive as large of a workload in Week 11 if Matt Breida returns to the lineup, he's certainly carved out a significant role for himself in this offense with the way he's been playing. Number 2, NYHEIM HINES, running back, Indianapolis Colts. Stop me if you've heard this before. Hines broke out last week with a huge performance. That's right, we've seen this play out before in 2020 where Hines emerges and scores multiple touchdowns, only to disappear the following week. Hines absolutely deserves to be rostered everywhere due to the upside that he brings, but this backfield is too confusing for fantasy managers to navigate each week that playing Hines as anything more than an RB3 is a huge risk. The upcoming schedule is too good to pass up though, and Hines should be added, but he's not someone worth breaking the bank over. Number 1, Michael Pittman Jr., wide receiver, Indianapolis Colts. Early in the offseason, I was extremely high on Michael Pittman Jr. and his fantasy potential in this offense. There was a point that I had him ranked as a top 30 receiver. Unfortunately, the injury Pittman suffered early on forced him to miss time, but he's back healthy now, and we just experienced a true breakout game from him. Pittman's an incredibly talented receiver that has now carved out a clear lead role for himself in this Colts offense. Moving forward, Pittman has an incredibly favorable schedule, and he should be added everywhere.
Looking for useful content, fantasy-relevant information, and the data that can help your team win? Then make sure to subscribe to the FantasyPros YouTube channel. And while you're at it, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at FantasyPros so we can help you dominate your league all season long.